semi-casual MMA show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Welcome to the first ever official episode of the Semi-Casual MMA show. I'm your host, Jared Brosnan, here with my co-host coming from Cleveland, Ohio, the city that never wins football games, Joe Bear. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jared. I'm doing good. What a way to start this show. This new beginning.
I know. Well, I got another 6 months or so before the Browns start losing again. So this is my last chance to give it to you. So why don't we jump right into it and start talking about the fights last weekend, most notably the fight between Giga Chikadze and Calvin Kattar. What did you take away from watching that performance by Calvin Kattar?
The writings were on the wall for the fight, honestly, the entire week. You know, Giga not showing, his attention towards Kattar. The people, I think the public and Giga were underestimating him. I mean, he got a total beatdown a year ago, over a year ago now. And just coming off of that, you would think someone who's on this big hot streak like Giga was on would go and take care of business. I didn't think he was going to finish Kattar, but I did think Giga was going to be able to edge out a decision at least. And man, was I wrong. There's a lot of takeaways from it, but I think the biggest one is just Kattar's chin is ridiculous.
Crazy.
And even Giga's too, but Kattar's chin, his cardio, I mean, he really impressed me way more than I could have anticipated. So yeah, but going into that fight, I was, the ratings were on the wall. Giga was not paying attention. Kattar was quiet. But for me, how I looked at it was, Giga's on the rise, and then Kattar, how would Kattar respond to such a beatdown? And I can't think of anyone who got, smashed like that, took a long layoff to get back, to get healthy again, and to come out and have a dominant performance like Kattar did. It was very impressive. So that was my biggest takeaway.
I obviously it was a very impressive performance, but the reason why I was on Kattar was because I saw something like this coming to begin with. Because when you take an absolute beating like he took from Max Holloway, and you're still able to stand there and fire for all 25 minutes, that chin holds up. Right. If you go back and look at that fight, he cracked Max Holloway several times. Max Holloway also just has a granite chin. I think pretty much every featherweight in the division at this point is crazy. Like Yair Rodriguez is wild. Ortega's wild.
Every top featherweight has chins. Yeah.
It just goes back to, the classic divide between the top half of that featherweight division and the bottom half. I mean, it's night and day. It's crazy. Even someone like Josh Emmett, who's so skilled, I don't see him coming close to beating anybody in that top five, let alone.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's crazy, because he's a good fighter too.
I know. I think his fight with Shane Burgos, I think, obviously set him back a while, because he was injured after that one. He was out for a while. Yeah. Even in his fight against Dan Ige, I thought he looked okay. He was able to edge out the decision, but
I think he looked good for the layoff and, coming off the knee surgery. I think that his next bout will definitely be more telling of where he is at his career.
But the thing is that in terms of the rankings, it would line up really well for Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett to honestly fight each other next.
I think that's the fight. I think that's the fight to make now. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that Josh Emmett is going to get starched by Calvin Kattar. I mean, Calvin Kattar had a different fire lit underneath him after the whole Max Holloway thing. I mean, there are guys who take beatings and they're never the same. Take a guy like Tony Ferguson. Like he was a different man at the end of that fight than he was at the beginning. Calvin Kattar got injured, his skull caved in. It was concussion city, but he was still him. He could still, talk. Obviously, he was going to the hospital, but he was not. You could tell that beating didn't really take years off of his life when he came back for this performance. Someone like Tony,
right? Yeah, that's how I looked at it. That's how I looked at it going into the fight. I thought of it as that Tony Ferguson-esque type beating, but honestly, I should have looked deeper into it. I was kind of beating myself over it, especially because Kattar's younger than Tony. Kattar, has taken some damage, but I mean, I don't know. It was a great performance, but pretty bummed for my bets, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, we always got this weekend, but why don't we push it on to this weekend's card, which is, all things considered, bit of a snoozer for the casual viewer, but for the regular MMA consumer, there are plenty of good fights on this card. And not to mention, we have two incredible title fights to end the night with Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. It's Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou. Which of those two fights are you more excited about?
It's the heavyweight fight. Come on. It's the heavyweight fight. You got a power puncher in Ngannou, and then you got the technician in Cyril Gane. And I mean, they are the elite of both those styles. Gane's footwork is just superb. His way of avoiding the heavy shots, the way he just sticks and jabs, move. Like, it's going to be so much fun because Ngannou has that power, and it doesn't matter how good your footwork is. It doesn't matter how good, your cardio is. If you get touched, you are going down. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better fight right now. I mean, arguably, John Jones would have been nice, but I mean, this is perfect. And the storyline behind it and everything that's going on behind the scenes, it just makes for a fun fight. No disrespect to the trilogy bout in the co-main, but it doesn't touch this.
I mean, I will say this. I'm looking forward to the co-main event because Brandon Moreno is my second favorite fighter in the UFC.
Yes.
That guy is horrible. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of the Ngannou and Gane fight, I feel so strongly that Francis Ngannou is going to chin this guy in a second. I don't think this will get past the second round. I think this is one of those things where unless Ngannou wants to just leave the UFC, lose this fight, and then just be able to get paid someplace else, which he might. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's a fighter. He's a prize fighter. He wants to win. He wins the fight.
If he wins, he has more leverage no matter what.
Exactly. So I think that the UFC is definitely making this card pretty bad on purpose so that it doesn't get enough sales for him and it looks bad for him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gane to me is he had a fun performance in his last fight against Derek Lewis, but
great performance.
Every fight Gane had before that is so boring. He's just a point fighter, and at the end of the day, you can be really technically sound, but if Ngannou does what he did to Jairzinho Rozenstruik to Gane, all he needs to do is connect once. I don't think Gane's knocking Ngannou out with one punch or even not at all. I think that Gane's route to victory is by decision, and Nganou's route to victory is by knockout.
So I somewhat agree with that. I think Gane could finish him though. I mean, think about it. I know Ngannou, he had his best performance against Stipe. It was his best performance. He won the belt, and he showed improved wrestling. He showed improved takedown defense. But people are kind of overlooking because he knocked Stipe out. I mean, he got clipped by Stipe, and he got a little wobbly feet, and he looked a little, I wouldn't say tired, but he looked like he was, feeling the momentum of the fight a little bit harder than he probably should have, because he wasn't throwing at a crazy pace other than the moment in the first round where he dropped Stipe, or he stopped the takedown and started beating on him, and then Stipe got up. But this fight is way more clear, or way more closer than you are suggesting. I don't think Ngannou is going to finish him in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're both going to be very patient in their approach in the first round, because Ngannou can afford to bum rush a guy like Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He can't afford to bum rush a guy like Cyril Gane. I do think Cyril Gane has power. It's more of tap tap. It's more volume striker. But I mean, the longer it goes, you would think it would go to Gane by decision. But I think, say we get out of the second round and they're still fighting, I think you could see Gane finish him just based on we don't really know Ngannou's cardio other than that Stipe loss in 2017. He was able to make it to the decision, make it to the scorecards. But I honestly don't know. There is no wrong answer, honestly, for picks in this fight. That's how I see it. But yeah,
I always just think that for Ngannou, if he gets into a situation where Gane has 3 rounds in the bank, Francis knows he needs a finish.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, he's just gonna bum rush. And I mean, he might be reckless himself, but I know Cyril Gane doesn't want to stand in front of Francis when he's just throwing hate.
No,
this dude has the world record for the hardest punch in the world. The force of that punch was the equivalent of a 12-pound sledgehammer being swung full force overhead.
Yeah,
you're telling me that if that man doesn't connect right here on the chin with Cyril Gane, he's not going out. Get out of here. I'm hammering.
But that's that's part of the thing though, is that we've never seen Gane tested like that. So I mean, we don't know. I mean, Gane showed great patience and distance and control of distance with Derek Lewis. I mean, yes, Derek Lewis isn't Francis, but I mean, come on, Derek Lewis beat Francis, so it was a boring fight. But I mean, I just feel like there is a path to victory for Cyril Gane, and that's why he is the favorite. I don't necessarily agree with where the line's at right now, but that, I mean, there's just so many ways to look at this fight, and there is no wrong answer. I mean, will you be shocked if Ngannou knocks him out? No. Will you be shocked if Gane gets a decision? No.
I'd be
think
shocked if Gane stops him though.
Would
Not
you?
shocked, but I would be pretty surprised.
I would be pretty surprised if he does it early. If he does it in rounds 3, 4, or 5, I would not. I would be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Similar to what happened to Derek Lewis, but that's just my opinion.
Maybe it's possible, but the good thing is we've got another great title fight that is super interesting. That even though Brandon Moreno is my favorite fighter, I honestly, I got a lot of worry for this one for my guy Brandon, the assassin baby, because Davidson Figueiredo, a lot of people have forgotten how good that guy was based on Moreno's performance. He was on track to be considered a better flyweight than Demetrius Johnson was with the trajectory that he was going, because he was not only knocking off the contenders, he was starching them. I remember watching that Joseph Benavidez fight and like fearing for Joseph Benavidez' safety when he just kept peeling off the choke, and then I
remember he like screamed when he woke back up. He screamed like he had a nightmare. Benavidez, it was crazy.
It's terrifying, and that's why it's so awesome to me. This is why I love Brandon Moreno so much. That this guy, Davidson Figueiredo, Davis Figueroa, the God of War, this mean, angry guy. His main villain in the division is the nicest guy in the sport, the most adorable kid. Lego guy, the Funko Pops. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, I'm on the total opposite end of you. I think Brandon Moreno is gonna walk through this fight with ease. I think that boogeyman persona that Figueiredo had, it's gone. I mean, you look at his wins. He missed weight against Benavidez in a title fight. That's why they ran it back. He starched him both times. We get that. But let's be real here. Benavidez, I think he fought twice after that, and he lost both fights after that. And then you look Alex Perez. That Alex Perez win, Alex Perez has not fought. Alex Perez, he keeps getting the level of competition that he has gone against, I think it's impressive, but I don't see Figueiredo as what you were saying, Demetrius Johnson. There's just no, I think that's a little crazy, to be honest, because I mean, you think about it, going into the first Brandon Moreno fight, he won the first 2 rounds, and then you're looking at the next 3. I mean, he kind of lost those rounds, but the point deduction, all that. And then going into the second fight, he gets starched. He's not that tough guy anymore. And I don't think anyone is afraid of him anymore because of what Brandon Moreno did. That, especially that second time, I think after that first time kind of showed okay, he can be beat a little. But I think the biggest thing with Figueiredo is it's not his skill, because he actually he's great. I'm not denying that, but the problem is he should not be fighting at 125.
Oh, he should be
he should not be fighting at he should be at bantamweight. And I think he's killing himself to get to 125. And if you're looking, I mean, I was watching some of the interviews so far this week, and Figueiredo's got sunglasses on, he's got a hat on, he's got his hoodie. I mean, he's just looking all he looks upset, and then you got Moreno all giddy and all happy and excited and enthusiastic. And it's just, I think that's very telling. I mean, that's how Tyron Woodley went into all of his fights, because of the weight cut. The weight cuts can be an issue, some more than others. And I think in this case, especially from a betting perspective, Brandon Moreno all the way, man. I mean, I think it should be different in odds because of just, the weight cut. And Figueiredo should be at 135 is basically my takeaway.
I see. I think the odds are pretty accurate right now. I think last I checked, it was minus 175, I think, on my book.
Oh, okay.
For Moreno. But I think honestly those are solid, because if you take away the point deduction, regardless of how you personally score the fight, that first fight Figueiredo won. If you go back and look at the MMA decisions, the majority of the media scored it for Figueiredo, and then the other part of it scored it as a draw. No one scored it for Moreno. So I just think that in the last fight, Brandon Moreno, that was his best performance by far.
Yeah.
And he fought probably the best he could have on any given night. And we don't know if that same exact Brandon Moreno is going to show. We've seen Brandon Moreno in 3 straight performances at top tier levels. And I can't wait to see him win this one, but I'm very scared to win it, and I'm very scared to get too confident on it because I know I'm going to jinx it. And I need Brandon Moreno to win for my own sanity.
I feel that.
So I'm very hesitant to like put money on it just because Figueiredo has that knockout power, you know, which is rare at 125. So if he gets a good cut, man, that you're going to see that line start to get a lot more even.
But the problem, like you were talking about the power. I mean, Brandon Moreno's never been knocked out. Brandon Moreno is very, very tough and can take those shots, just like we were talking about earlier with Calvin Kattar. He's got the strength and game plan to withstand those punches. I mean, he's even said, like, when he first took a couple punches from me, he was like, I can take this, and that's why he's not afraid of him. And then he went into the second fight and starched him. You know, I think Moreno's just a more skilled, more well-rounded fighter than Figueiredo at this point, especially with Figueiredo up in age. Figueiredo, I think, is 34. Moreno's 29, 28. So I think the fight is way, you know, far away from what the odds are saying. Like, I think Moreno should be like a -220, but I won't say anything anymore though, because I'm betting it at -170. So
you know, it is what it is. But outside of those top 2 fights, which are going to be great, which are going to be super exciting, we have about, I think, 13 other fights we got to get through for the rest of the night. So of those other 13 fights, which one are you most looking forward to?
Probably the bantamweight bout on the main card, Sednar Magomedov versus Cody Stamann. You know, Sednar Magomedov trains with Sabit Magomed Shaparov. I can't pronounce his name right, probably. But but they're actually very similar fighters. You know, you read the name Nurmagomedov, you thinking that he's just gonna wrestle you and take you down and dominate you. No, it's not the case. Said can wrestle, but Said's more of like a striking guy. He likes to keep it on the feet. He's got that spinning kick that Zabit has. He's a very fun fighter to watch. And Cody Stamann, very high level wrestler, very aggressive, he's got really good cardio. I believe the last time he fought was the loss versus Merab Dvalishvili, and I think he lost that one 29-28. I don't think it was 30-27, but Cody Stamann is in a little disrespect, I think, in the odds. I mean, I think last time I saw him, I think he's plus 200 maybe, and I think that's pretty far off. I like Sednar Magomedov in this fight, but I definitely think Cody's a live dog. So I'm very excited to see that one, because if Sed can't withstand the wrestling, then he's in big trouble. But if Cody wants to stand and bang with him, I mean, that'd be pretty crazy, because I wouldn't do that with Sednar Magomedov.
When this fight opened, I think Sed was a -200 plus favorite. But looking at the line now, he's down to -188. So it's definitely
it's closer now.
It's definitely getting closer. So that's good. That's good for you if you're on Sed, because that's going to be helping you out in terms of the odds. But
I might have to. I don't know. I might play that. I don't know.
I think Cody Stamann honestly is going to be. I think he's due, man. His brother died. He hasn't won since his brother died. I think he's going to get one. He's going to be motivated. I mean, this is a much easier fight than Merab Dvalishvili. That's
I think so too. I think Sed's good, but much more easier than Merab.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a close. I think that'll be honestly one of the most interesting fights on the card. I was gonna say, what I was most surprised about was when Evloev got taken off the card. They replaced him with Charles Jourdain, who just fought last week. I cannot wait to see Ilya Topuria and Charles Jourdain scrap it out for 15 minutes or less, however long that takes.
15 minutes. That fight's not going past the first round.
That's going. I got the over in round and a half.
You got the over, dude. No, I highly disagree. I think Topuria is going to start him. I think Topuria is going to, if he wants to get in and get out, he's going to take him down. He's going to submit him. Jourdain is not good at grappling. He's not good at defensive submissions. He gasses out a lot too. So if Topuria wants to have a war, he can have a war, and I think he'd be safe. He's not going to get knocked out by Charles Jourdain. He's not going to get submitted by Charles Jourdain. He can toy around with him if he wants to. He's that. There's just levels, and Topuria is at that level. That's why he's a minus 550, even though it's a short notice fight. That is just ridiculous. So I think Topuria round 1 submission is, honestly, I think it's a lock. As long as Topuria plays it that way and doesn't play it as in like, I'm going to put on a show for the fans. I think he can get it done even maybe under 2 minutes. I mean, literally all he has to do is take him down. And when he's down, when Jourdain's down, it's over. I mean, Jourdain won't have an answer.
Yes, but think about how disappointing that would be if those two didn't fight the full 3 rounds. I just want to see it. They're going to,
I know.
If those two could just stand and bang for 15 minutes or until
that would be
drops,
fun.
I would love
yeah.
to see that. Hey,
that
I'm
would be
a big Topuria fan, but I'm also a big Charles Jourdain fan. So I'm not going to pick either winner. I mean, if I was to take someone, I'd probably take Topuria as a parlay piece. Yeah. He's honestly like pretty high at this point to even make it. But
see, I like Jourdain, but what really was telling for me was that Julian Erosa fight where he just gassed out and got guillotine choked, and I was just like, oh man, that's not a loss you want. Julian Erosa is a very hot and cold guy, and I think that fight is very telling into this fight because I mean, if Topuria gets him down, man, it's over. Like it's over before.
I know. I definitely agree. I mean, Topuria is a beast. Talk about someone who could potentially throw themselves into the top of the featherweight division.
Yeah.
A year or 2 from now, Topuria is one of those guys. I mean, I see.
That's why I'm so bummed about the Evloev, dropout because like, man, that was going to be really telling of each of their skills, But it's a shame.
I think they'll probably rebook that fight after this one. I mean, this will be an easy win for Topuria, and they're going to want to give him a ranked opponent anyway.
Hey, he said he wants to fight 4 times this year on Ariel Helwani's podcast. So we'll see.
I hope so. I mean, that would be fucking unreal.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
That guy is so entertaining. I remember the first time he fought in the UFC. He fought Yusuf Salal.
Yeah.
This was at the time where Yusuf was on his streak when he first got into the UFC. Like now Yusuf, I don't think he's won a fight in his last like 4 or 3 or something like that. But
I don't think he's in the UFC anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But his first 3 fights, guy came out, was going absolutely crazy. Everyone thought like no one's gonna beat this guy. And then Ilia Topuria steps in and dominates him for 3 straight rounds, wasn't even close. And then his next 2 fights, he knocked out Ryan Hall most recently, obviously, and then
the Damon Jackson before that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just absolutely vicious. I mean, the Ryan Hall fight was a very weird one because Ryan Hall broke his hand in the first punch he threw and then started doing the rolls the whole time. But it was. I mean, Topuria is a super exciting fighter. Jourdain's a super exciting fighter. This has all the elements to make either a highlight reel finish or a fight of the night. So,
I agree with that. Yeah.
But so we've talked about betting a lot already. Why don't we just jump into what our best bets are? Best bets for me usually means that you should fade them just to give the audience a bit of a disclaimer here. But for Joe, you probably follow them.
Yeah. I've been hot and cold recently, but this is going to be the start of a new streak. So I got one favorite, one underdog, and then I got a parlay. The favorite, I'm going to go, I think it's actually close to evens. It might be like minus 115, minus 105. I got Michael Morales going against Trevor Giles. I think Michael Morales is going to be able to, I don't know if he'll be able to knock out Trevor Giles, although Trevor Giles is a little chinny. Last fight, he got knocked out by Dricus Duplessis with it was a good right hand, but it was like he was off balance. It was a very weird knockout. But I think Michael Morales can edge out a decision against him. He's a contender series guy. I usually try to fade the contender series guys, but I think Trevor Giles is one of those fighters that's I think you can make a buck fading him.
I'm hammering Trevor Giles. I see him.
Are you really?
I am actually. That's funny. That was
man.
That was. So this is why you can see why you should fade me and follow Joe, or maybe it'll be the opposite. But I mean, Trevor Giles is good, man. He's got wins over Roman Dolidze, Bevan Lewis, James Krause, for Christ's sake. Like
James Krause one was on like 12 hours notice, and the Deletes one, people argue Deletes won that fight. So I mean, it was kind of, I don't know. He's a good fighter, and I think he can, stand with those guys, but I don't know.
Morales has fought no one that's
Yeah.
actually good. This is his 13th fight, and he's
Yep.
fought only 3 guys with more than 10 professional fights.
Yeah, I'm basing it off of what I saw on the Contender Series. I just think he'll be able to put the volume on Trevin Giles. I think in Trevin Giles, I feel like if he can get him into the late second, early third round, Michael Morales, and he, like, let's say he wins the first round, I think he'll be able to edge out 2 rounds if he wins the first round. I don't know. It just depends, because I'm basing it mostly on just Trevin's chin, and I just feel like one of these contender series guys that's on this card, or guys and gals, which I'll get to, will show up. And I think Michael Morales is the one that is close odds wise to get that victory. But it's mostly more of fading Trevin Giles than picking Michael Morales, I'll be honest. So yeah, that's just my takeaway from it.
Well, we'll have to see what ends up happening on that one, because I will say,
you win money or I win money.
I don't know. I like it. I like him for this one. I got a good feeling on him there.
Like I said, the Contender Series guys, you can never know.
They're hit or miss. Their competition level is so bad beforehand.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just think that Trevor Giles is going to use his experience in this one to edge it out, because you saw, even if you say that, hey,
the Roman Dolidze fight, that's fair.
He knows how to fight a fight to win it. So and hey, as long as Trevin Giles is the one who's announced as the winner, the money goes up. So that's all I care about. But
one of us will be happy.
Exactly. So what were your other picks? And I know you said you got a parlay too.
I got Gane and Moreno, Michel Pereira, Ilia Topuria, and then Demopoulos pays out to around plus 300. I'm going to be putting $50 on that, and hopefully I cash that ticket, because I could use that money. And maybe if I cash that, I'm going to put a little on probably Ngannou because of the underdog. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with that parlay.
That'll be a fun one. I mean, I like what you said there. I mean, just in terms of the odds, all of them are pretty solid favorites except for Demopoulos. So she starts out the parlay too. So you got to hope that she gets
I'm going to be sweating.
Right track. But
I'm going to be sweating that one for sure.
That's the thing I don't like about betting full fight card parlays, is that you'll have something like this, right, where there's one fighter who's closer to even. You try to stack it so that the whole thing happens, and it always works out that whoever the biggest favorite was that I put in the parlay somehow finds a way.
Fuck it up.
So there'll be, my like plus 250 underdog will hit, and my minus 800 absolute guaranteed lock of the century, just to add a couple extra bucks to the parlay.
Yeah,
it's the thing that ruins.
And then it screws it over.
Oh my God! Like Amanda Nunes, thank God my book didn't even let me bet on that fight. That's how much of a heavy.
Good, yeah. Was. Same. Yep.
Oh my God, that would have been. I don't know if did you see the guy who put I think it was like
300K, 265K or something like that.
It was to win like 20, not even. It was absurd. Like, imagine
absolute dumbass.
That kid. There was another. So I go to Boston College. There was a kid when McGregor returned against Poirier. In their second fight. Like the actual second fight, not the trilogy, not the second one of 2021. I guess it's kind of weird how they do that. First one.
I know. I know what you mean.
The first rematch. But he put his entire tuition on McGregor. His entire tuition, thinking that it was going to be free money, because at that point McGregor hadn't fought since Cowboy and destroyed Cowboy. No one was giving Dustin Poirier any credit. By the time the fight started, McGregor was almost a minus 400 favorite.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, when that fight was at that point in time, the odds should have been at pretty much a pickup,
Yeah, agree. So, and that's what they were in the rematch, or the second rematch.
Exactly. So, it's almost like that first fight didn't even count in a way, because it's so
honestly
so
long ago.
But
different weight class too.
Oh, literally. But all right, well that's just about it that we got for this card. I mean, I'm hoping for the best. Usually when on paper things don't look as good, those usually end up being some of the best cards. So I think that
I'm with
at the
you.
end of the day, it's still a pay-per-view card. We're still getting a card that's better than, fight night cards
Last week's.
all around the world.
Yeah.
So they're all throughout the year. But I think it's going to be a fun one. I cannot wait to see Brandon Moreno fight. Fingers crossed the Lego champ gets it done, the assassin baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let's hope that Francis Ngannou makes Cyril Gane's chin go burr.
Yeah. Hopefully. I want him to stay in the UFC. So that's the best case. So
that'd be great. I will say, Ngannou and PFL would be so fun to watch. But that's an even more surefire bet than Kayla Harrison winning the $1 million.
Oh man, I don't think. Oh man, I don't know where Ngannou would go if he's not in the UFC. But man, in PFL or Bellator, he would he'd be just free checks, free money. Honestly,
isn't Brian Bader still the heavyweight champ right now too of Bellator?
Yeah, next week they do the unification bout, him and Valentin Moldavsky.
Francis would get rid of both.
He would kill him. He would kill him.
Less than 30
in the same night. In the same night.
I mean, put them both together and just have one charge at him first, and he probably knock them both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's
Francis doesn't even need to train for those fights, sadly. But yeah.
I mean, I'm really hoping that at the end of the day we can have faith in the fact that heavyweights are not about technique or skill. It's about who can hit the hardest, and I hope that's what's proved on this Saturday night. But that just about concludes our first ever episode. Joe, you got anything you want to say before we leave?
I hope Ngannou wins because I want to see him versus John Jones so bad. So bad.
Last thing I will say, my bold pick for 2022 is Francis Ngannou is the fighter of the year after knocking out Cyril Gane and John Jones.
Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, until next time, I'm Jared. That is Joe. And you listen to the Semi-Casual MMA show. Have a good one, everybody.
And I got all the drugs in the world that you need. We get high to pass time.